We are at Fort Spokane Visitor Center and Museum at Lake Roosevelt National Recreation Area. It was a 1880s military fort to begin with. It was in operation until 1898. It was actually here to protect the native populations from the settlers. We have 67 acres. At one time the fort was about 700 acres. We have about 45 that we talk about in a diorama in another room. There may have been upwards about 54, but we now have 4 buildings that are left out of those 45. One is this building. This was the second guardhouse. The first one was a wood building. So this was one of the first brick buildings that were built here. And it was actually as the administrative building. It acted as the administrative building for the military fort. But they still built the 2 common cells. This is one of the common cells, the other common cell, and then we have 3 solitary confinement cells. But it was basically office space for the guards for the fort. The Mule Barn was for the quartermaster. So every month or so, he'd go down to the train station in Sprague, and then he'd haul all the provisions back in a mule-drawn wagon. And then we have a powder magazine that stored munitions, and then we have the spring house that held water. It was the reservoir for the water for the entire fort. And we still use it today. So you can see the 45 or so odd buildings that we had here. The red barn over there, that's the Mule Barn, and then the white one clear on the edge, that's the powder magazine, and then the red one in the middle is the building that you're in now. After the fort was closed down in 1898, then the land was lent to the Bureau of Indian Affairs to act as the headquarters for the Colville Reservation. And they thought that at that time that the best way to help the natives integrate into white society was to send them to a Native American boarding school. So they closed down the local boarding school in Nespelem, and then told the parents there that they had to send their children to this boarding school or they would have to go to prison. So they sent the children here for the boarding school, started in 1900, and then lasted until 1907. At that time they had a high enrollment of about 300 students, but by the end it was down to about 31.